Hey, what's going on, Jackie?
How's it going?
Doing okay. How about yourself? Making it through the snow?
Yeah, bored out of my mind. I haven't left this house since Sunday.
Wow. You sick or something, or just the snow?
What?
Sick or something, or just the snow?
No, it's where am I going to go? Do you know what I mean?
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
So
I did realize a couple minutes before we got on that Kate, you're on the screen as Councilwoman Koch. Do you see that?
I do. That's weird.
Yeah. So we have to change that in the settings. So I'll do that before the next meeting, unless you want to be Councilwoman Koch.
That's so crazy. I can't do that.
I don't know. Maybe you can. I'm not sure. I think because it's a group within Zoom, you might not be able to.
Yeah, it doesn't look like I can.
Yeah, I know that I can do it. I don't know if I can do it from.
I think I did it. Yep.
What's that?
There we go.
Oh, you did. Okay, cool. All right, I have to send Kevin the link. Hold on. Hey, Mark, can you forward that link over to Kevin?
DJ,
Hey,
fast meeting?
we'll see. Somewhere to go? A lot going on right now.
Yeah, like where am I going?
Yeah, so Jackie was just saying the same thing.
DJ, should we start?
Mark, were you able to send that to Kevin or no? Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're just we'll wait a minute or two for Kevin, and then we can get going. Okay, so I'm thinking Kev is in as Mark Mancuso number 2. I'm guessing you sent your link over, so I think that's what happened.
Oh, yeah, probably, because I sent them the one that I got.
Right, yeah. Okay. So I think this is who we have. Tonight we might have 1 or 2 more poking in. I know that John can't make it. I think this is the crew. So Mark, if you want to start us off, I know Tina can't make it. She has her son's birthday. Rachel, thanks for joining us from New York. Looks like a nice cozy cabin up there.
Sure
Yeah.
does.
Very nice.
All
Yes,
right.
I think we have a little more snow, but it's good.
Yeah. Well, we'll get a little bit more. It looks like possibly next Sunday. We'll have to see how it tracks.
Perfect.
All right. So let's call the meeting to order. And I guess first order of business is if everybody has a chance to look over the minutes. Want to get an approval of those. I think that should have been attached to what DJ sent out a little bit earlier this afternoon.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. All right, moving on. Do we have any?
All right, so I don't see anyone here, any public participants here. I'll keep checking throughout the meeting and do the best we can with that.
Oh, there's
All
Kevin.
right.
He's in San Francisco or maybe Napa.
Looks nice
Thanks,
out
Mark.
there.
No problem. Just be careful what you say because you have my name attached to it. All right.
All right,
I don't
so
suppose you
hopping
have any
down.
correspondence.
No, I don't have anything there. There's an item or 2 that I'll mention when we talk about the priority list, but nothing that we need to get into at this point.
All right. So let's move on to parks, fields, facilities. What's happening with McCarter?
Sure, yeah. So update on the McCarter Park piece. Just before the last council meeting, we were able to hear back from the Board of Ed, and they're able to throw in $6,500 towards the McCarter Park project that the committee had proposed and was seeking council approval on. So I know that that was a big help in getting that to the point of approval. Unfortunately, we got that information really late in the game, just before the meeting. So it is going to take, at this point, I think it's another 6 or 7 days till the next meeting for the official approval. Betsy, is that correct? Okay. I think you're on mute there. Yeah.
Yeah. Our next council meeting is the 10th, and that's when we're going to bring it up.
Okay. And that's for approval, like final, let's go. And right after that, we can get,
And move
we can break
forward.
ground. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Good. Sounds good. And then we can move forward hopefully as quickly as possible, getting that in there. So if there's no ever lifts off of McCarter Park.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks
Yes.
like we're not gonna get that lucky little bit of warm spell that's gonna let anything happen.
No, it doesn't look like it. That's it for parks as far as that goes. I know that there is a council report on here. I don't know if Councilwoman Koch or Councilwoman Christian Keith wanted to touch on that. That was the personnel piece. We might
Is
have
it
lost
personnel or
That's me. No, I'm here. I'm sorry.
committee.
I think this is, Teresa had asked DJ to include it on the agenda.
right?
I can just recap. So give me a second here.
And do you mean personnel or do you mean personal?
No,
I was
What do I have it
confused.
listed as?
You have it listed as personal conduct, but I think you meant
I guess
personnel.
The teacher in you got me. You got me.
See, literacy.
Can
even
you
in
see my
science.
screen?
All right, just
Can you
fix
see my
it.
screen? Will do. Don't take points off.
I won't.
Can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we see
Yes,
policies and
yeah.
procedure manual.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Councilor
Oh, go ahead,
Keefe,
DJ.
I'll scroll down when you instruct me to.
Oh, it's fine. I don't even know if you necessarily need to. I just, the Personnel Committee
Okay.
has asked that all of the committees, commissions, and boards be provided with a copy of the Borough Manual. The borough's policies and procedures do apply to electeds, appointeds, and volunteers, certain policies specifically related to conduct. So it's important for everyone to be aware of because it can impact you and ability to
Now, I know that Teresa had
your
highlighted a
role
couple different.
out to all respective committees.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think we might have
and
lost
feel
it
free to
over-
scroll down and to. Oh, you lost me?
Yeah, just for a little bit. I don't know if that was my connection or if that was.
Can you hear
No,
me?
you cut out a little bit, Meg, but we got you now.
I'm sorry. It's because I'm trying to tap off of your Wi-Fi, Mark. Okay.
I'll boost the power.
Yeah, please, would you? No, so there's just some general harassment policies and sexual harassment policies that do apply. And to the extent there was any complaint raised, that the borough is obligated to investigate and could result in the removal of your role. So we're just pushing this out to all of the committees, commissions, and boards, so everybody is aware of their that they fall within the policy, and to the extent it was to be enforced, hopefully we never have any such circumstances, but if that arose, that it would apply to you. That's it. Any questions?
Just a point for me. I think, and I was surprised to learn that this applied to this committee and all the volunteer groups. So I think it is a valid point that you raised in that if committee members or volunteers of the borough are supposed to abide by this, then I think it does make sense that they're at least notified that, hey, this is just something you should be aware of. We are going to continue to make sure that committee members are following these different items.
I think it makes, complete sense that obviously just, from a purely, being rational and sensible that, we follow the rules. I'm just kind of surprised that usually these kinds of things, if they do apply to, various positions, those are often positions where there's some sort of, almost like an official kind of swearing in or oath that needs to be taken that puts you then under these policies. But one thing is, if that's something that we can make sure is available for all of us to be able to look at if we want, some sort of common place that we can access this.
Yeah, and Councilwoman
Yeah.
Mr. Keefe, was this something, do you want this sent out to all committees, this exact whole policy, or do you anticipate that Teresa will have a, maybe like a briefer synopsis of this that she would want sent out? Do you have any reading on that, to Mark's question? And Susan O'Brien, I do see your hand there.
Yeah,
I will get to you
I'll
shortly.
defer. I defer to Teresa on that, on how she wants it to be administrated to the various commissions, boards, and committees. Overall policy is available on the borough's website, so anybody who wanted to access it at any time could. But yeah, these specific highlighted sections are what applies. And I mean, Mark, your point is well taken, but a really simple example, a chair, reprimanding another, member of the organization or the committee or the board, or treating them disrespectfully. It could be as simple as that. And if they were to make a complaint, the borough administrator would have an obligation to go back to that chair and say, what happened here? And you need to cooperate with that inquiry. And, to the extent there was no cooperation or whatever might happen, it's important that, the borough has all of its electeds, appointed, and volunteers. I mean, we're all volunteers, except for DJ. treating each other respectfully and in a manner that would not be perceived as harassment. Otherwise, it's going to lead to invariably the exclusion of people who don't tolerate it. But, you know, if there's no way to enforce it, then where are we? So the manual is admittedly old and needs renewing. And I believe that the municipality is working on that right now. So I'll also note that.
All right. With that, Susan O'Brien, I see you have your hand raised, so I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, I just wanted you to know I was here and I actually was the first one in this meeting. So I don't know why you didn't see that I was here.
Yeah, sorry about that. I do see you now, and I'll keep an eye out for that hand. And we also just had someone else join, Helen Spalding. If at any time you would like to join in or you have a question, just raise your hand, and I'll try to keep a lookout for your hand and allow you to speak. So thanks for joining in tonight.
Okay,
Anything else, Mr. O'Brien?
thanks. Nope, that's it.
All right.
Thanks and welcome again, Susan.
Okay, so anything else on that front? Any questions by the committee or anything else you'd like to touch on, Councilwoman?
No,
I
think
don't have
we're
anything
good.
else. Yeah, Betsy, I was gonna ask if you had anything to comment or add.
No, just do spell check.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, so there's a couple other highlighted items, and again, it is on the Borough website, and I'll see if the Borough Administrator wants us to send this out to the specific committees.
Is what's on the Borough website highlighted like that, or is that something specifically that you highlighted those areas?
This was highlighted by.
No, those are specific to appointed and volunteers within the municipality. DJ, my is that it's fine to push that out to the committee members, but again, I'll defer to Teresa. I don't know it. You know, I just defer to her. The personnel committee just wanted everyone to be aware of it and that it applies to them. It makes sense that it should go out via email so everybody could.
I think
Okay, so I'll
Teresa's
double check.
sending it to all the committees, to all volunteers. She's sending it to everybody.
Okay, so this is just kind of the, hey, don't be shocked when this comes in email.
Right, right.
We do have these policies.
Yeah,
You're expected to follow them.
we didn't single out the rec committee. It's going to everybody.
No, I wouldn't think that you did. Just full disclosure, though, I did offer some hot coffee to the guys who were plowing our area, so hopefully I didn't violate anything.
That's why they were here so much today, huh?
I think you might be okay. All right.
All right, is that it for council report?
I would think so.
All right, thanks. Oh,
Right.
I guess moving on. Old business.
Moving on. All right, so down to old business. So we did talk about basketball, and I know that they had been delaying, postponing, and they were likely to run a traditional season, and that's going to continue to be the case. They're not going to have a traditional season. I say traditional because there might be some clinics or some group practices, scrimmages, things like that when the weather breaks. I know they were doing that a little bit in the fall, but might be a little bit more organized. So they are looking to do that. I know that the Knollwood school teams did make their teams. I don't know if they're actually going to have a season. I know they were trying to. Jackie, I'm not sure if you have any input or if you had heard anything on that front. If the basketball teams are going to continue on the school teams.
I really don't know about basketball. I know that they did go forward with spring sign-up forms, but I don't know what that means.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a good segue down to the spring outlook. So I did have calls the past couple of weeks with the different board of eds, the athletic directors, all the different sports leagues, and the general consensus is consistent with what we discussed last meeting, to where at this point the plan is to go ahead with spring sports, similar to fall sports, how we had certain policies in place that this committee had come up with, and the borough administrator and the governing body were aware of and were on board with. I know that the high school is planning to start April 1st. Typically they start the first Friday in March, but they're pushed back a little bit. I know the winter sports would push back as well. But as far as the rec sports, we're planning as of now for a fairly normal and typical start time for those sports. So, obviously weather dependent and all those different things.
And DJ, I guess, maybe for Kate's sake, if she's not sure on what those things are, some of the things that we had talked about as far as kind of putting in place is the use of the stands around the fields, who's able to use that, and then, just your basic common sense rules of, social distancing and things like that.
Yeah. So, and all the leagues, for the most part, were very good with it in the fall. So there were a couple incidents, where we had to step in a little bit and just say, hey, remember these rules. We have to make sure that all the leagues are abiding by them. And, who knows, things could change a little bit in April or March or in May, but I think, it's not looking like that at the moment. So that's the plan as far as the spring sports go. It's not looking like we're doing an opening day parade. I think in 5 weeks to have 500 people in a parade would probably not go over too well. So it's looking like we might try to maybe do something in the summer for that, or just nix it for this year. That's a touch and go. And then as far as the spring events go, we'll play them all by ear. We'll have a plan for virtual, we'll have a plan for in person, and we'll see what we can offer in person. But the plan is to still offer those events in some fashion or form for the spring. That's really it as far as that goes. Were there any questions? I know we had briefly talked about it at the last meeting as far as those different things go. I know that the information is on the website for signups, and the leagues are getting signups, and they're preparing for normal season. We have their supply orders in, all those different things. So that info's out there, and we'll continue to blast it out there.
Yeah.
DJ.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I don't think it's surprising that they're having the signups and everything, because, they need to move forward thinking that perhaps it could happen, because, as we've talked about, it's a lot easier to have things already prepared and then, pivot rather than not be prepared at all. So just because they're doing the signups and everything, of course, unfortunately, doesn't mean that it's necessarily happening.
Right. Hey, Kev, did you have, or I'm sorry, yeah, Kev, I was looking at you, but then it said Mark, so I thought I was wrong. But Kev, do you have any thoughts on that? I know you were helpful with some stuff in the fall.
Yeah. No, I mean, as far as spring goes, I think fall overall was very successful with the outdoor sports, as far as, just being a part of it. I thought it was, everything was run well. And like you said, for the most part, it was, just a couple incidences, but all good there. One thing I was going to ask about, and if it's in the same subject that we're talking about now, is daddy-daughter dance. I know, some people that I've spoke to, obviously such a popular event in town that everybody loves, had some people throw out suggestions about pushing off spring, summertime, and seeing if it's possible to do an outdoor tented event at Fairhaven Fields. Just anything to not have to cancel something that everybody really loves, and just do it a scaled down, different type of event where we wouldn't be indoors. And I know summertime we're all going to be outdoors a lot. The beaches will be open, and it seemed like last summer was fairly normal. But if there's just some suggestions that people have, if it could possibly be pulled off, a lot of interest from people around town that have mentioned it to me.
Sure, yeah, and I think mother-son dance falls into that elk as well. I know it was canceled last year, but in 2019, when the first time we ran it, we went from like 60 participants in the mother-son brunch to over 300 in the mother-son dance. So I know there's going to be some questions as to, can we delay things? Can we do something when the weather breaks a little bit? So I'll leave that up to the committee to think about any options off the top of your head. Do you think, I always think postponing in this case is the best, and hopefully things get much better, and maybe there's a chance we could do something. But to Rachel or Jackie or Kate, any thoughts there?
The only thing I have to say, and I don't know any of the details, is that I've been notified that the 8th grade dance is happening. They've made the decision, so I can find out how they're planning on doing that, and then we can consider those rules.
It's all outside in the field.
Yeah, and I'm okay
Yeah.
with the message of postponing to see. I mean, it doesn't hurt, I guess, with an abundance of caution when the decision needs to be made. But postponing rather than canceling seems to make sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'd love to see it happen.
Okay, and do we think if we had it, thinking maybe like summer or early fall, something like, or
We're
I
just
think
gonna
you need
work.
to
I know-
wait and see. Just postpone it and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
postpone it and say, look, we're hoping for the best. If we can, if things look good in the summer, fantastic. If it has to be pushed to fall, I think people understand.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe
Okay.
we see, like we said, in the summertime, see what the governor has for outdoor events and, we base it where we can, like they have the 2 different sessions now that are largely popular, but, maybe we could work around some of the, I guess, the decisions that are going to be made from the state to see how many people we could congregate outside and see if that's a possibility.
Yeah, and perhaps, I know we have 2 nights now, but maybe we spread that out and we make it 4 nights, and so they can fall under whatever those guidelines are at that time. I think we can be creative with those.
Yeah,
options.
I think that's a great idea. Just something. I think it would be nice for for people just to have something to get out to, and if I think whether it was 3, 4, whatever we could do, I think it would be well received.
Yeah.
How many people
1990.
normally participate in the father-daughter dinner dance?
Between 400 and 450. It's one of our larger events for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Some years the Saturday is more popular, some nights it's Friday. But yeah, typically we'll get to around 250 or so in one night, and then around 200, 225, somewhere in that range for the other night. So yeah, it's immensely popular, 1st grade through 5th grade.
Yeah, hopefully by that time, we'll have the ability in an outdoor environment, to gather that many people.
Yeah, that'd be great if we could offer that. Okay. All right, thanks for bringing that up, Kev. So I know we talked about some spring programs, things like that. We do have a few camps, some of our typical spring camps that we roll out there. We have our Snapology camp, which is our engineering, Legos, all those different things. Those have been popular. We've been able to run those for the last few months, and they've been really great. I don't know if anyone here has kids who take part in those camps, but they do a really good job. And we have the USSI, the US Sports Institute camps that we have as well. Everything from tennis to multi-sports, soccer camps, things like that. So those are typically for the younger kids. We have them during the week, and then we have some on Sundays as well, Sunday mornings. So that's a complement to the spring sports that go out there. So we'll have those registrations go out, and they typically start up in mid-April or so. So we have those going on. And then as far as the summer camps, take a look back if you can at what we ran last year, and if you think that there's an opportunity to add some different camps in there. We're always open to trying different things. I know a few years ago we ran a chess camp. It didn't have a ton of people, but we tried it. And we've done all different types of summer camps. So over the next week or so, if you want to take a look at that, and you have any suggestions, so throw them my way, and I can reach out to some different camp vendors that might offer those, and we can see if we can, if it's a good fit, maybe we can add those on to 2021 summer schedule.
I think we're going to get a pitch for fishing camp.
Oh, fishing camp, yeah. Was Jackie, did you want, was Captain Rice gonna come on and speak, or did he want to have him do that through you?
Unmute. He's here. Also under Jackie Rice, so I don't know.
I can go.
Copy of the agenda, so I have no idea if he's on there or not. The email, I've been having problems with emails. So I'm just gonna step away and he can step in.
All right, yeah, so we're gonna have Captain Rice here. He runs a Fairhaven fishing camp that takes place at the Fairhaven dock every summer. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's been fifth year. Every year it keeps growing. It's very popular. Partnered with Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs. 7th year. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
You're getting old.
Yeah, immensely popular. Does a fantastic job. I don't think fishing's been as popular as it has the last few years. If it wasn't for Captain Rice here, so I'll let you speak. I'm guessing you're going to want approval for the summer, and how about it?
You already highlighted it, so thank you. If you have any questions, whatever, but pretty much everybody's familiar with the camp. I get stopped in the streets. Are you Captain Rice? I think they call my house now the Anchor House. We have a big anchor at the corner. So yeah, I mean, it's been extremely successful. We're in our 7th season. It is done through Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs, which is a state-sponsored program through New Jersey DEP, Department of Wildlife. There's been some talk to bring it national, our program, because it's been so successful. And I thank Fairhaven for the support for the prior 6 seasons, and I hope that continue to get the support. I don't see any reason not to. And the check's in the mail, DJ, I promise. I did look back at our records. We did not. I know I had it on the calendar. It was 18 days total, and then minus, I think, 2 because of weather that we didn't utilize the dock.
Weather, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, the dates are set.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask as far as dates and weeks, consistent with last year. I know we added, I think, a week last year.
We added an extra week, and so we stayed with those 6 weeks again, and it's the same as, whatever those same weeks are. It starts July 5th week, I think. Hold on. No, I think I might be wrong, but I have it on my calendar. The 12th is the first week, and then it's 1 week increments for each session. We try to do it age appropriate for each week, similar ages. And then the last week would be that week ending the 20th of August. And we're not going to add any more weeks this year. My assistant almost killed me last year. So it's done through Kid Guru, which is another local business in Rumson. So if anybody wants to sign up for it, you can go on Kid Guru. We do have Jersey Devil Fish Camp Facebook page and all that. So if you have questions, I'm here.
Sure. So any questions on the committee? Kate, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the camp, being a resident in Fairhaven, if you've seen anything. Yeah, they use the Fairhaven dock for, I believe, 2 days a week, and then they actually go out on one of Captain Rice's boats, and they do a bunch of fishing, and they learn about the environment and all these different things out there. So it's not just, grab a pole. They show them everything from how to cast, how to put on bait, how to, what to catch, what to look for, what to keep, what not to keep, positives on the environment and negative impacts and things like that. So, and safety as well, boat safety and any time that kids are casting, things like that.
What's the age group?
What's the age group? Who asked that, Bets?
I did.
You made the age group. Originally, it was funny. 7 years ago now, I guess. I said, Bets asked, what's the age group? I said, I don't know, 5. And she looked at me like I had 5 heads. So she's like, how about 10? So it stayed at 10. So and then there's no limit on the upside on the upper end of the age group, but I'm finding that once they're 14, 15, they're kind of over it. But a lot of those kids become counselors in training. So there's 4 or 5 kids from my original first week at camp are still with us as counselors in training. And basically I told the one kid I'm going to just give it to him when he's done with college. So he's got, I think, one more year of high school and then college, and then he can take the camp. So, yeah. It's been,
Hey, has there been any thought or discussion or interest? You know, I know there's probably some parents in town who just don't know how to fish, or they'd like to, you know, learn from you. Any interest in offering it to adults as well, or just simply kids?
no, I have a whole bunch of people that have asked about it. I jokingly, because there's also the charter business, I said, yeah, you got to charge, you know, you got to charter the boat. But no, I think if I just have to figure out how to do it, because it would probably be on weekends.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Maybe
but
even like
not,
father
because
and
people
son,
are-
or daughter and father, or mother and son, some kind of combination like that. I think that'd be really cool.
Sounds
to
like
have
the
family
Fairhaven
members
Rec Committee
together.
just started another week. So go ahead with it. Tell me what week it is. I'll show up. Yeah,
There you
no,
go. Maybe
it should happen.
Mother's Day weekend, Father's Day weekend. I think those would
We
be
can
cool.
do it. Yeah, that's definitely, we can do the same format, just condense it into, you know, a 6-hour day, you know, 2 6-hour days, whatever. We could do that. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool idea, especially if you do tie it into like a, you know, a Father's Day. I don't know if the mothers kind of want to do that for their day, but
Well, I don't know if they would do it for their day. Sorry, I'm getting a potential spam call. I don't know if they would want to do it for their Mother's Day, but I have had a lot of interest from the mothers to put together either a mom's charter or stuff like that. So there's definitely enough, I think, interest in the town to do that. And I started, by the way, as just hyper local. That first week 7 years ago was just, I just did it through Facebook. I've had kids as far away from you know, France. We had one kid. He didn't come specifically for it, but he was coming here to do about the camp. And his mom called me on a charter. Hello, Monsieur Rice. You know, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, who the hell is this? And she's like, I need my son to be in your camp. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I've had, you know, it's definitely branched out, South Jersey, stuff like that. So we've talked about maybe, you know, regionalizing it. But if you want to do the father-son or father-daughter or father-kid, whatever, and mother, we could do that. I just got to find another weekend before, you know, a lot of my charters, they have specific weekends. So I have to look at my book and see, and then I'll get together with you on it, DJ, if you want.
well, I think just in terms of the regular camp that we typically run, is everyone in favor of re-upping?
Absolutely. Yep.
Great.
Thank
And
you.
Yes, yeah.
and I think as an add-on, are we interested in the possibility, you know, assuming, you know, Brian can swing it, that, you know, maybe we do add on sort of a special thing like we've been discussing?
Yeah,
Sure.
because you guys can get the
Yeah.
credibility kind of, or, you know, credit a little bit on that side, being from the rec committee, right? And instead, because it wouldn't have to be run through Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs. If the dad's doing drugs, it's not my problem. You know, so we can do it through the rec, you know, through that side. If you guys want to work with it, be more than
Cool.
happy to work
I think
with
we
it.
can look into that, DJ.
All right, sounds good.
Cool, man. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you.
I
Bye.
gotta go to
you.
council after
Bye-bye.
this. Bye. Thank you.
Go answer your spam.
Yeah.
Mm.
And go out back to clean up dinner. Hi, hon. It's all you.
All right. We'll wait for Jackie to get swapped in here.
So DJ, we have a lot of opportunities for kids. Where is the best place? Is there a central location where people can go and see what is available for spring opportunities, summer opportunities? Is that all in one place, or do they need to know what they're actually looking for before they go to find it? Like, do they need to know, oh, well, I want a baseball camp, or I want Snapology, and then go on the Borough website to find it?
Yeah, so we're going to release in the summer. We have that all in one document as far as all the different camps and things like that go. And then there is a document on the Fairhaven Borough Rec website that just lists all the different opportunities, all the different camps that we run, all the different sports leagues that we partner with, all those different things. So that is a document that's on there. But yeah, typically, as the seasons come, we'll release information, and we do it on all different media outlets, on our Instagram and on Facebook and all that. But we do list them on the Borough website as they come around or as they're approaching.
Okay, I'm thinking of new people to town or people that, their kids are getting older and are not familiar with all the opportunities for them to go to a central place and see what's available.
Yeah, so I'd say the Borough website's typically the best place, but I'll get people that'll email me. They want to get added to the recreation e-blast list. And what I try to do is I have a document that has a lot of the information on the sports and different types of programs they can expect and things like that, with seasonal options on there. So that's an option. Maybe I could even throw something like that on to the Borough website if they're new to town.
DJ, I think if the Borough website is really the kind of primary, repository or informational site for all that, that makes sense. And then we can probably just within the e-blasts, kind of direct them to it from there, rather than have to kind of recreate everything.
Right.
Yeah,
so
because
we'll
when
add a
you get
section
the e-blast, when you get an e-blast, you're getting an e-blast about a specific activity or opportunity. It would be nice to have a place where people can see all of the different opportunities at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
Betsy, I was just thinking, there's a like a new resident committee or new resident packet that goes out. DJ, do you know if that includes a list of rec opportunities? Like, I know it kind of recites like the parade and the egg hunt and the whatever. I don't know if all the rec opportunities are included there, but if not, we should update it to include that, and that would be a good resource.
Yeah, I think both of those items make sense, and I think it can also be listed on the rec website as well. So I think that would make sense to put those documents together. And yeah, I don't think I was clear before, but what I meant was when I get an email, when someone wants to be added to the rec e-blast list, I do have a curated document that has all that information in it, and I'll send that out to them directly. But I think to have it on the website makes a lot of sense, and to have it added into the new resident packet would make sense too.
And
I don't know.
I think,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think including the age categories for the different activities is important too, so parents know what their child might be eligible for.
I agree.
And I was thinking, there very well could be something on there, but certainly some sort of, direction or link or whatever, just listed on the calendars. Because I know I certainly do, use the Borough calendar, and I look at it and I find things from it. So if we're on there as well, that's another way to direct people.
I agree. Yeah, so I'll work with Betty Ann, who's our secretary and helps with communications and things like that, to get that info out there, and have the correct information and make sure that it's something that makes sense.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. So moving down, we are going to discuss the parks priority list that we had talked about at the last meeting. I know we had spoken about a couple of the ideas, and actually in speaking with Councilwoman Kristen O'Keefe, we wanted to try to find some way to get some younger people, some kids' input on some of these items. So one thing that we thought, typically I host the third grade class. They come to Borough Hall, I give a tour, we talk about, taxes and all the different departments and, those general civic things. With COVID going on this year, we can't do that. So I think, and I know the Councilwoman was on board with this, and the third grade is going to let me know if it's something that they're interested in. But I wanted to see if the committee was okay with this, was whatever list we come up with for our parks priority items, before we vote, send them out to the third grade classrooms and with a link, and they can actually fill it out online. And we can see like where the third graders think the important things are for them. And it's not going to give a full view of all the kids in Fairhaven, obviously, but I think it'd be a cool way to involve them in the process. And it doesn't mean that because they want, item number 3, that's what the committee is going to go with, but the committee can see the results, and it might give it a little bit of a different perspective. And sometimes, we don't think about things the way that a lot of the people who actually use the parks, the youngest members of our community, do. So I don't know if Councilwoman Chris or Keith want to speak on that at all. If not, I'll open that up to Mark and the rest of the committee to kind of weigh in on.
Yeah, I think you covered it really well, DJ. That was definitely, the gist of what I was saying, that, sometimes I feel like I'm not completely in touch with what all the kids want or prefer, even though I've got a bunch of them. Sometimes it's great to just hear it directly from them. So it can inform our votes and decisions moving forward.
Yeah, I think we'd all agree. I mean, you always talk about basically trying to get input from your stakeholders, and certainly they are a big piece of our stakeholders. So not that it's going to dictate exactly what we do, but it's good to have that input and have some idea, because as DJ was saying, we don't always know kind of what might be higher on their list, and that could help us maybe make some adjustments.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that idea of, and then maybe some ownership was, they could understand safety considerations, ownership of keeping things clean. That's a great idea.
All right. I mean, I don't
Kevin,
see any
Jackie,
reason we
any
shouldn't
thoughts
move
on that?
forward with that.
Make sense to you?
Fine with it. Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think it could hurt. Definitely get the input from the kids. Makes sense.
All right. Sounds like we're in agreement. So definitely, yeah, move forward with that. Hopefully you'll hear back from the teacher and we can kind of get that moving.
Okay. So with that, we'll touch on a few of the items, or these are, to my knowledge, the items that have been brought up. But if there's any, and I have to switch out here, if there are any that we don't touch on tonight, then we can certainly discuss them. So let me try to bring this up here. All right.
So of course now
You
we
see my
got to
screen?
see your desktop there, and I think after this we should play a little Jackbox.
Yeah, there you go. Have you been on that, by the way? That's really fun.
Yeah, we do that. I've done that with my family. My folks are down in Florida. My brother's out in Denver, and one of my nieces in Massachusetts. So we all just jump on that and we play.
Yeah, I think we did it like the second month of quarantine, and it was me, my brother, my sister, my mom. It took us like 45 minutes just to figure out how it worked, but it is fun. All right, so can you see my screen? You can, right?
Yeah, you're good.
So the all abilities swing, this was something that Tina had mentioned to me. This is something that we could put at any of the parks. It would just replace one of the traditional swings that we have out there. So I don't have much familiarity with this. I'm not sure if anyone that's here does, but this would be one of the cheaper items, coming in around $500, something that could be added in to the parks.
I don't know about you, Betsy, but I'm fascinated how that could be a 0G swing.
I know. I'm trying to figure that out, and the fact that it's $520.
Well, you'd be like, a regular swing is, commercial grade. They go for a couple $100. You would be surprised. Like those kiddie swings, those tot swings they call them. Yeah, they're a couple $100 just on their own, which is
Wow.
Playground equipment is very, very expensive.
Well,
but I'll
it's
just go
all
through these
ability. Mark, maybe you could test it out.
Well, that'll certainly test out, how much weight it's
Well,
able to handle.
We've all learned that playground equipment is not cheap, but this is a no-brainer. Personal experience with it in the past with a son with special needs, and we used to have one of these where we lived in Middletown, and it's tremendous. So it should be on there. I would definitely recommend.
Great.
And I absolutely second that. Yeah, I agree. No brainer.
All right,
I thought we
sounds
had
good.
special swings at both playgrounds. What are they for?
There's one mommy and
I
me
couldn't hear
swing, right? There's one for like an infant at McCarter.
Oh, right, yes,
One?
yeah, so you can be looking on with your child. I believe it goes to eye contact and all those different things that
Oh, and
I'm
that's
sure a bunch of you are much more well versed on than I am.
Yeah, they're at both parks, right? We have one at each.
okay. I'm good with this one then too.
Yep. Yeah, and again, we don't, we're not going to vote or decide per se tonight, but I just want to give a quick overview. And when we have the official list of items before we vote on them, I will send a similar document like this out so you can do your own research if you want to, and you can look up, some different information on it. But I just want to give a quick recap, and yeah, feel free with any thoughts or comments. So this tennis backboard is something that was brought up, and especially if we're going to lose the one at the community center, the wall that's there, the big white wall by the tennis courts. This might be something to consider. And there's actually one at Piping Rock over in Rumson, and it's essentially a wooden board of sorts that's angled so that you can play tennis by yourself. You can practice. I'd have to look more into it to see if it's something, if you could use a lacrosse ball or different types of balls as well, to kind of give you that function of not necessarily needing a partner to go out there and play. But that's an option that we can consider as well. And depending on the size, it goes anywhere from a little over 1,000 up to 3,000. And there's different enhancers you can have that can silence sound, and a couple of different things like that. So,
So
that would be
DJ,
the
you may
genesis
not
on
know,
that.
but I'm curious, is that a more sort of permanent installation, or is it easily moved, or?
So it's not, drilled into the court per se, but depending on your gauge of permanent, I would say it's, well, I guess I would ask, do you mean as far as if we could move it to a different location if
Yeah.
needed?
I mean, we could find out more on it, but I'm just curious, is it, say, secured to the fencing, or is it freestanding? So, how mobile is it?
Yeah, I believe it would be secured to the fencing. To what degree, I'm not sure. And if it's something that the committee is interested in, I could always personally just go look at the one in Rumson. I could talk to those folks over there if it's something that we're interested in.
Is
They
it
have one at
inside the
Rumson?
court or outside the court?
So
Inside,
it's inside
right?
of the court, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd
And
have to be.
I think the reason,
I
yeah,
think
the
it'd have
reason
to
for
be
that
able
is
to have
that
the
you can
play
use,
off the surface.
Right, but if you have it, then you can't play tennis. You can't have tennis going on at the same time someone's using the backboard.
Right, and that's one of the reasons I
Right.
was wondering about the sort of, mobility of it.
yes,
Yeah,
that's one of
it's
the
as if
downfalls
you
of
would,
it.
you would reserve the court for your own use, for a solo person to use the board, or for a solo person to use the board while they're waiting for their partner. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the downfalls is that you have to be using that court space. But I mean, I think for me, if the court's getting used, whether it's one person playing with a friend or it's one person playing by themselves, they're still using the court. They're still getting the physical activity done. It's just solo. So I guess that's one thing to consider.
So DJ, if we're able to get more information before we need to make any types of final ranking of things, if we can ask Kevin at Rumson how much the Piping Rock is used. I have used the one at Piping Rock, and it's really loud. Like so much so that I stopped because I was concerned about the neighbors.
Okay, yeah, so maybe I could get some feedback from them.
And I realized that there's
yeah.
not houses, there's houses closer to Piping Rock than there are to Fairhaven Fields, but
Rachel, were you playing tennis or are you hitting golf balls at it?
yeah, I was playing tennis and it was loud, but it was at like 8:30. It was when the courts were open, but earlier than I felt I could make that noise once I realized how much noise it was.
Wow, that's interesting.
Just a quick question,
Okay.
because I haven't passed by in a while. Is the tennis court by the community center, is that still there and usable, or is that over with?
So it's still there. From every indication I've gotten from the town, powers that be, they don't want to sink any more money into it because it might not be there in the
Okay.
not too far off future.
Yeah.
So that is the status of that court.
The only
So
reason why
not in great
I
shape.
thought of this for there is that it's a big kid hangout there with the basketball courts, the ball fields. I think this is just going to open up yourself to wall ball, people on your courts trying to play lacrosse wall ball. You already have a lot of issues with the pickleballers and the tennis and the time. It's cool. I think it's a very cool thing. I would almost maybe consider it as something extra for the kids over at the community center if that's still going to be used. But I just think in the new courts, I think this kind of opens up a little bit of a can of worms.
Yeah,
And that's-
I
yeah,
think
and
when
that's
we were
part of my
initially
question.
Talking about the possibility for a wall, I think we were thinking of a wall that was more for like use of, banging the soccer ball against it, banging the lacrosse ball, not necessarily something for like tennis or pickleball.
And that would be my other question to Kevin, is how much theirs gets used. I don't know how much it would be used it as a tennis thing, just as Kevin says. May I ask, also interrupting maybe what you're going to say, DJ?
He only has like 2 courts, right?
Yes. But what is the status of the lacrosse wall? Is there any movement on that?
No. So I know that the gentleman who was spearheading that on behalf of the RFH Youth Lacrosse is actually living out in Washington now, as I understand it. So we haven't heard from them in, I want to say, well over a year. It did get very pricey. And I think that, as sometimes happens when kids graduate and move on and your kids aren't necessarily in there, the fundraising excitement or enthusiasm goes away a little bit. So I think, unfortunately, that's what happened there. So I haven't heard any movement, and then COVID happened, and so I'd be interested to continue those talks if that group is interested in potentially going down that road to get that created. But unfortunately, that was the end of that.
Well, and again, these are just things we're kind of looking at as potentials. So, this could be something that just sort of falls further down at the bottom of our list.
Yeah, and it's something too that, again, doesn't need to be added necessarily this year. And I think that once more clarity as far as the community center is known, because I will say, as someone who, I'm fortunate enough to where I do get to go to the parks during the day, where I know obviously a lot of people working or they're with their kids, that wall does get used a fair amount by tennis players who want to go out and practice by themselves, or with kids, things like that. So it does get used a fair amount. And I think if it was at Fairhaven Fields, being that that's the epicenter of the tennis community now in Fairhaven, I think it would get a fair amount of use. But that's just from my observations.
DJ, I might be able to find out about the status of that for you. My husband is involved in the RFH lacrosse board. I think he's on the board. And I remember that was thrown around a couple years ago. I don't know about that specific individual that you were speaking with, but I can ask him to check in and see what happened to that initiative and see if it's still alive or can be revitalized.
Okay. Yeah, I know we had gotten to the points of architectural drawings and things like that, and some cemented costs, and then the wheels kind of fell off a little bit. But yeah, that'd be great if you could get an update on that. We could see if that's something that you want to continue talking about.
Yeah, I'll ask him if he can check in, and then I can have him send it to you or whatever he finds out.
Okay, great. All right, so sticking with the tennis theme, one of our individuals in town who plays a ton of pickleball, she's actually the pickleball ambassador. She's been on a couple of our phone calls. Kim Smith had asked about windscreens at the tennis courts at Fairhaven Fields. As you remember, this project was a joint venture by the Borough of Fairhaven and RFH Board of Education, 50-50 as far as funds and things like that go. So things like this, if they were needed or if they were wanted, we could always approach RFH and see if they had interest in splitting the cost or any combination in that realm. But windscreens are something that if you're a tennis player, you'll see at some courts and not at others. It helps, obviously with the variation of the ball moving and things like that. And I'm not the biggest tennis player in the world, so I wouldn't be able to speak to how much of an effect it has. I do know that it does get windy at Fairhaven Fields from time to time. I've also read some reviews that say, if it's super windy, the windscreens don't help that much anyway. So I can't speak too much on that. I know I was approached by the pickleball community to see if it's something we could consider. So I threw it on here. And the cost is so wide ranging from $2,000 up to $15,000 and over, because it depends how many sides of the court you want it on. It depends what type of material you want. It depends if you want to personalize with, a logo or things like that. So it's very wide ranging, and there would be the potential for RFH to contribute if this is something that the community wanted to look at. So I'll leave that up to discussion if anyone wants to throw in. I know there's people here that use the courts on a fairly regular basis, so we might have some more experience there.
DJ, I would say I would really be, I think, only interested in kind of reviewing it if I knew that RFH wanted to come in on it with us.
Okay. And the thought behind that, would it be that, I guess I would think the thought on that would be the people that use it for the borough's sake, or residents or people in the community that just like playing tennis. And it's a more like official capacity with the high school, as far as, there's rankings online and standings and, scholarships and things like that down the road. But I guess they're the most official group that uses it. So if they don't need it, then maybe the regular guy who plays tennis 2 times a year doesn't need it either.
That's exactly it. And the other thing is, quite honestly, when you do have the teams playing there and everything, I don't know quite, that looks fairly opaque. And, that also would make it much harder for those people who come to watch their kids play, et cetera, to see what's going on.
I agree.
That makes sense. I know that, Rachel, you play a fair amount out there. What are your thoughts on a windscreen, or needing it or not needing it, or anything like that?
Yeah, I agree with Mark that I don't need any windscreen first. I mean, I'm not a player that needs a windscreen.
The Rachel Griffin windscreen? All right, we'll mix it.
And I had seemed to think that there was a time when RFH was talking windscreens and putting RFH logos on them, I thought, way back in the beginning of the tennis courts.
Yeah, I think there were some conversations along those lines, and it didn't come to fruition. But I think I'm on the same page as you. Kate, are you a tennis player by trade or by craft?
I mean, if I try to weigh in on this, I'm such a bad tennis player. To invest that kind of money for my tennis game would be a crime against humanity. So no, I can't really weigh in on this.
Okay. Any other thoughts from the committee? Any other thoughts, just as far as, again, we're not voting tonight, but just to get a sense of if you think, hey, this is something we should strongly consider, or, it's just not in our wheelhouse.
I don't think it's a priority. That's my vote.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the feeling.
All right, stepping down. So this is something that we had talked about at length back in November and December, adding some type of shade to either Fairhaven Fields or to the community center fields. And I think Fairhaven Fields really took the priority on that one, being that it's used so much, especially in the summer months, and there really isn't much shade there. There's a little bit, but it can get, the material can get pretty hot, and so I think shade was more of a less of an aesthetic and more of a safety need out there. So I know that Tina had spoken to some different vendors. I had spoken to some vendors. So something like this, there's a bunch of different types of artificial shade that you can see. It's typically some kind of metal structure, aluminum structure with a canvas. that provides the shade that reaches out over the play structure. There's all different types. This one was around between 6,000 and 7,000 with installation. So I know that this was something that the committee had thought was of interest and thought there was a need for, especially with the amount of, like I said, the amount of people that go out and use that space. And then the committee had thought, well, if we're going to get shade, why don't we get a tree? Like, why don't we get the real deal? So this would be the approximate location of where a mature tree would go. So we're talking a 20 to 30 foot shade tree. And they're not cheap. The tree goes for anywhere, depends on the species and the exact size, $3,000 to $4,000. And then with the transport and the install, that's where the real money is. So actually, I was supposed to meet out there with the president of the Shade Tree Committee on Monday, and then obviously we got the snow, so that got pushed back a little bit. To meet out there with a nursery, with a tree nursery vendor to see if it's doable with the other things that are out there, to see what kind of tree he would recommend. We still do plan on meeting out there to get some more details when we can. But those are the two different considerations when we're talking about shade out of Fairhaven Fields. So you see that the price is to be a little bit more expensive. Obviously, you're putting in a tree, you're not worried about it, coming down or needing maintenance per se that you might need with the other type of shade structure. So I know that I was asked to look into those different options. So those are a couple different options for shade. I don't know if anyone wants to touch on any of those items.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm curious with your positioning of the tree there. Was that some suggestion that you've gotten, from, I guess, the tree people or an arborist or something? I mean, obviously we need to consider, like you were saying, potential height of it, what kind of, spread it has, and also the time when we really need it. Like, where is the sun going to be, say, during the hottest times of the summer months when it's going to be, the most crucial for that structure being used? We kind of decided that's sort of the best spot for it.
Yeah, so I put that there because there used to be a tree, and it used to be right there. And then there was some storm. I don't know how long ago it was. You might have remembered it being out there, but it had taken down. I guess it was decaying. For whatever reason, it was taken down. And I know that used to provide shade. I don't know. There's people that know the best angles and where the sun's coming from at the hottest parts of the day. And I'll leave that up to the engineers and the tree guys. So I just put that out there as that's where there was a tree that provided shade. And part of meeting out there was to see, hey, where would the best spot be? Is it feasible? Obviously you can't see it here. You can kind of see it on this picture on the right, but there's an electrical box there. Where are those wires? Where are those lines? And obviously there's playing fields that are right there. How wide do these roots typically spread? Would this be feasible? Would it work? So those are
okay.
things
I couldn't tell from that picture. So that's where that other tree was.
The other tree was right around in this area. Yeah. So those would be things that I would want to figure out, obviously, before we spend big time money to put a big, beautiful tree in there. But a big, beautiful tree isn't going to stick out. It's not going to look odd. I think that the artificial shade, if you want to call it that, does look very nice. But I know that, I think anytime you can do something naturally, as far as that goes, it might just be worth considering. So those were the thoughts on that.
All right. Well, hopefully, when you do get the chance to speak to the tree people, we'll get a better idea. Because, I mean, there's, I think, considerations all around. You've got the artificial one, which we can place wherever we want. But of course, there's potential issues with it if it needs to be taken down at certain times based on winds or seasons. There's probably maintenance that is involved, as opposed to then the tree. But that has its own set of issues that it brings to it also. So I guess we kind of need a little bit more info from the tree people.
Sure. Any thoughts
from
anyone else?
Any thoughts, guys?
I've seen the
I don't have. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for looking into the trees.
I'm kind of torn. I could go either way.
I've seen the artificial one used quite a bit though, and they seem to hold up pretty well. But you know, a tree is always beautiful. Like, it's hard to say no to a tree.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, any chance we could get a little funding kicked in by like the Shade Tree Commission?
Yes, that's an interesting thought. I think that if we were to go that route, I think that would at least be something that we asked of them. If that would be something that they would consider, I think, you know, it would make a lot of sense. I think that's part of their mission is, I mean, it's in their name, to provide shade, or trees that provide shade. So I would very much like to have that conversation. And so maybe that's something to where, again, we can put both, if someone feels really strongly that, hey, we need shade at Fairhaven Field, they can list them as 1 and 2 on their priority list. And then whichever one we end up going with, you know, that'll play out. But at least that if we know, hey, shade at Fairhaven Field is a priority, and we'll figure out if it's the tree or if it's the artificial canvas, then we can go about it that way. But yeah, and there's a bunch of different types that are available. Some that have different leaf colors that look really pretty in the fall. So there's, I think he listed 8 or 9 different types. So if we get to that point in the discussion, I think obviously the shade tree would weigh in, and maybe they provide 2 or 3, and maybe the rec committee would pick, you know, 1 or 2 that they like, and then, you know, our arborist, of course, would weigh in, and hopefully it'd be something nice that everyone would like, and you know, to be there for 50 or 100 years. So I will move down, and this is something that I know Councilwoman Kristen Keefe had mentioned. I know Tina had mentioned as well. This is what I would call a bigger ticket item on our list. So I've been having an approximate price for it, but so some kind of bike track or bike safety layout is the general idea here. And you can go online, and some towns have them, especially at some bigger county parks. Essentially a place for kids to learn how to ride a bike in a safe environment, some different obstacles and things like that. There's a bunch of different types that you might see out there. But could be done at, you know, this is a little bit smaller space down here. Obviously the one that was a little bit further up took up some more space. So this would really be serving our youngest residents, and being a community that does bike so much. And I think a lot of Fairhavens really like that about town, to be able to make our youngest and newest bikers feel safer out there. I think, you know, while it's a bigger ticket item and would obviously require more funds, there are some grants out there for it. We have to figure out a suitable location, of course. Who knows, if it's something we feel strongly with, we could have the ask that the facilities committee considers this as, hey, maybe this goes where the tennis courts go at the community center if we're going to get rid of that space. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but Councilwoman Kristen Keefe, feel free to hop in. I know Tina's not here tonight, but if there's anything you'd like to mention on this.
This is incredible.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kate.
That's all I was going to say. It's just that's really incredible compared to like a wind screen. This is pretty great.
It's just a really cool concept of an alternative outlet that's, you know, for the younger crowd. I mean, the big kids, 8+ can jump on their bikes and go around town, whereas, you know, the younger kids don't really have that outlet. Of course, they can supervised or in their driveways or cul-de-sacs, you know, where they are, but just gives another alternative outlet on how to use space, whether it's with scooters or bikes, and you can use everything from tricycles up to 2-wheelers on stuff like this. So I think it's a cool idea, and haven't seen it around here. I kind of like doing something fresh and new. I think that's a cool idea. And I think, you know, Tina has researched this stuff a ton. So certainly something to consider.
I don't see the price in the screenshot that's there in view right now.
Yeah, I don't have a price. My estimate, and I try to look a little bit online. I think I'd have to reach out to that vendor for a quote. And sometimes they like to drag it out a little bit and come on site. And I can try to get some kind of rough quote. From what I would think it'd be somewhere between 30 and 50 grand, based on just some of the different quotes I've gotten for somewhat similar items where when it comes to surfacing, which obviously can be very expensive, and different things like that. But that's a super rough estimate. I can get a more exact estimate, and obviously all these different tracks are so different that I think would really depend on what exactly you wanted, the size of it.
Yeah.
If you were to take something like this one on the bottom here and just take away the further portion of it and just have that one loop with the little parking spots, I think that might be a little bit more attainable than something, you can see how big this is. And obviously, the space and things like that would be dependent on space and things like that. And I think this is something to where if people on the committee think, hey, let's make this a priority, and maybe we can't get it, but let's put it as, number 1 or 2 on our priority list. And then we can talk to council about funding, or we can talk to the borough administrator and see, hey, this is important to us. And I think that's what the list does. If nothing else, it makes it known to, when I share it with the borough administrator, this is important to this committee. Maybe we don't have the funds to get there now, but let's keep this in mind for down the road.
Yeah, DJ.
I think some of the smaller.
Let's try to get maybe a cost range on some of these things, because I think this is something that we're all fairly jazzed about. And I got to tell you, we have something similar to this at Rolling Hills for the younger kids, and they just go bananas for it. It's just a very cool thing. They really get into it. So I could see this being.
How was that one set up? How was that one set up?
We call it Bike Town, and we have some smaller two-wheelers, we have tricycles, but we have effectively a track that's set around like that. We have some other structures in it as well, sort of like some little houses, kind of a gas station, and so they kind of wheel around like they're wheeling around town, and they go to these different places. I'm trying to think size-wise. We probably have it in something that's the size of like a tennis court. And I would imagine this is something that we're probably looking at McCarter Park, or possibly, depending what happens over with the new community center.
Okay. Yeah, I think that other area over at McCarter Park, kind of like behind the basketball court, there's a decent space that's over there. I know we're putting the turf in there for multi-purpose space, but I think depending on the size of something like this, I think that would be a good spot for it.
I thought the same thing. That's a great spot there.
Okay. Okay. So that's something that I can look into and reach out to them. And I guess the question at this point would be, with a couple of these items, I know there's some clarity wanted or some further diving in. Would it make more sense for us to rank these without having? Well, we're not going to get exact prices and exact numbers, but to get more of a range, would it make sense to hold off on voting until we get those? Or do we think, well, we kind of know this would obviously be the most expensive, and regardless of price of these items, we have a certain level of interest?
I think with something like this, we definitely have a certain level of interest, but certainly with a number of the other possibilities, some of those might be more sort of dependent on the cost. Where's our best bang for the buck? So, even if, like I said, if we can get a range of what this might cost, that gives us a ballpark. But for something like this, I think we all still have an interest in it. But some of the other things, I think we do need to see some, maybe harder numbers on. Any input, guys?
I just have a question because I'm so new. I'm sorry I don't want to take a lot of time, but what are our fundraising options? Do we go to the council obviously for money, to get greenlit for things, but do we also have fundraisers and abilities like that, or is that not really in our purview?
Yeah, so I'll touch on that. So we have community appeals money that is donated from the community throughout the year, and then typically it's in the range of $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year, somewhere in that range. And if we don't use it in a given year, that will then roll over. So we currently have around $20,000 in there. And so we've spent that money over the years on everything from, I know we assisted with toddler playground that was put out at Fairhaven Fields, the new fence that was put up at the community center, the pickleball lines was a smaller item, some different additions to the playgrounds over the years. I know I had a list at the last meeting. But so those have been items that the community appeals funds have gone towards, so some field restorations, things like that. So that's one avenue of fund sourcing. And then another, we do have the Recreation Trust. So typically, or what that essentially is we have some programs that we run and we make money on, and then we have some that lose a little bit of money, and some that break even. And in the Rec Trust, that's where those funds live. So typically, those have to they go into a program, or they go towards items that where those funds would come from. So, example, if something were to be used at the Rec and Crew Camp, then we could potentially use Recreation Trust funds for that. But that any large amount of those fund uses typically has to be approved either by the governing body or by the borough administrator. We typically have much more say when it comes to community appeals. So when we talk about these items, that's really germane to where we want to use that $20,000. And do we think it's best that, all right, maybe we don't touch that for 2 years, and maybe that does get up to the $40,000 mark or so, and we can use those funds for a bigger project? Or sometimes we can take, say, 50 or 75% of what we have in community appeals, and maybe we can petition the governing body to say, hey, this project costs $50,000. We have 20 we'd like to put towards it. Can we find the other 30? So those are some different options. There's always grants as well, which help, Monmouth County grants, state grants, individual playground grants, things like that. So there's all different types of avenues to go through. But typically at the start of every year, we put together a list of park priority items that we'd like to use the community appeals funds towards. And if those are smaller items, great. If they're bigger items and they need some more or additional funding consideration, then at that point we can kind of look through there. But yeah, the real reason for this is just see or list out the top priorities for the committee. And if we have the funding, great. If we don't, is there a way that we can look into attaining that funding?
Got it.
Okay, so I'll look into some more prices there, and we'll go ahead and we can see if the third grade classes want to, if the teachers want to have them weigh in and provide their input, which I think would be really cool. And after I get those results, I'll send those over to the committee, and then we'll go ahead and we'll vote. And I'll have a similar document to this, and hopefully it has some more information at that point by the time we're voting on these items. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So we do have, let me see, the walking challenge information. So Kate, do you want to talk quickly about the walking challenge?
Sure. So basically, I guess maybe 3 months ago, we started a walking challenge on Facebook. I did it with a couple of my friends and they got bored of it. So I tried to get it out to a broader crew. And we did. Rachel was part of it. We got about 30 people in it this time. And what we've done is we have taken a $20 entrance fee, excuse me, given 10 to a charity. We did lunch break one time. This time we're doing Companeros de Comida, which is the local charity that's run by the kids in town, and Gretchen Morgan. And basically we use Stride Kick as an app to track participants' steps. So you can use your iPhone, you could use, that's the worst one, you could use a Fitbit, or you could use an Apple Watch. And then we have different challenges because Stride Kick has a limitation where you can only have 10 people in a contest. So we have it across 3 contests. And then there's a Facebook group where I update where everybody stands on, I try to do bi-weekly, but it's pretty much a weekly basis so that everyone knows who's going to win. And the pot goes, 50% goes to charity, 30% goes to the winner, and 20% goes to the runner up. And we were kind of, TJ and Councilwoman Koch and I were kind of talking about that. The council president and the mayor approached us about kind of getting this out to the broader town and making this a bigger thing, which I think is really exciting, especially the local charity now. And also, instead of having a cash pot, we could do gift certificates to local businesses of the winner's choosing. So that's kind of where we are. And I think the council is going to talk about it on February 10th, right? Is that correct, DJ?
Yeah, I think council is going to speak at the next council meeting. And as long as the committee was on board, then we can start the PR and start to roll out the flyers and things like that. So I think I'm glad that we didn't roll it out this week with the storm and everything.
Yeah.
But I know it's been really successful, and folks are looking for a way to just get out of the house for even if it's 10, 15, 20 minutes. So I think adding in the charity factor and adding in some of the different aspects here, it's really cool. And I just want to, thank you for, I know you're taking on a brunt of this work, and, being on the committee for 2 months or so. I think that's a nice contribution that you're making.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And if I can add, so yeah, catching or hooking my part to Kate's train, and I chose to walk to the grocery store the other day, and I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be, so I've been waiting to hear how the town is going to roll this out. And I was like, well, maybe they'll challenge people to walk to the post office and then walk to the grocery store. But on the park side, we could either all of us walk and average our numbers, or just one of us walk and get a number and say like, hey, the loop on the outside of the nature area is 5,000 steps and the bird sanctuary is 2,000 steps. And
that's a great idea.
Do you need to? So, because I am now so addicted to these step challenges that I know if I want 2,000 steps, like I have one particular loop for 2,000 steps and then another particular loop for 3,000 steps.
Wow, that's great.
So it could be fun. There could be ways to kind of piggyback onto this stuff and get people into the parks too.
Okay. Do you think that's something that maybe it's like as a weekly, when we do our weekly recaps on Sundays, I think it is, Kate, that we send out a couple of cool facts, or do you think we try to get that info now and add to the flyer and say something like, did you know it's 1,500 steps to go around the loop at McCarter Park, or did you, and kind of throw them on the flyer? Or were you thinking that was kind of something that we would send out to the group on a weekly basis update and kind of give them a couple cool facts every week? Or Rachel,
I'm fine with either,
whoever.
whatever the committee thinks.
What do you think is the most effective way to get it out, DJ?
I don't know. I'm really not sure.
And so, and is this, are you thinking it's going to be kind of a month, just the month of February kind of thing? I mean, yeah, because that I think would inform your decisions of how quickly or how slowly you roll out increments of fun facts, fun, little inspiration, if it has to be faster, if it can be ongoing.
We have it as a 4-week challenge, and I think, Kate, you mentioned that the max you can do a challenge on this app is 30 days.
31, yeah.
31. So yeah, it's going to be the 1 month long challenge. So I don't know. It's kind of, do we want to use it as marketing and throw it on there and people are like, oh wow, that's interesting. I walk that. So walking can't be that hard. I think that'd be cool to throw it on here. And I think Borough Hall should be back open tomorrow, so I should be in town. So I could actually just take some snowy steps tomorrow or the next day and get that out here and do the different loops. The one at Community Center, the one at Fairhaven Fields and McCarter Park, and throw it on the flyer. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I can get you step accounts by Thursday if you want it. If that's, I'm not stepping tomorrow.
Rachel's in the hunt to win this month. That's why.
Because I'm driving tomorrow. I know I'm thwarted. I have to drive 5 hours tomorrow, which means I can't get all my steps in.
Yeah, no stepping and driving there. But yeah, if you want to get those to me, Rachel, then when you get those to me, I can add them to the flyer, and then we can start the PR at that point. I think it'd be kind of cool to have some of those different facts on there. And if there's any other interesting ones that you think you want to add in, like, you know, from sickle school to the acme is this many steps, or, you know, anything like that that you might know, I think that'd be cool. And again, you know, they're all estimates because we all have different strides, things like that. So yeah, that'd be cool. If you think you could do that?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'd be happy to. I'll do like also a Boosker do to Robards Park. Grab your coffee and step down there, and you've got yourself 250 steps.
All right, there we go.
Cool.
I
I
like
like
Cool.
that.
Okay, yeah, I'll get you some of that.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Kate, was there
Great
anything
idea.
else that we needed to discuss?
No, not that I could think of. Just it's basically kind of laid out in the flyer, and it's going to be the council president's challenge, right? Isn't that how we're calling it?
Yeah, Council President's Welcome Challenge.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. So moving down, and I know we're almost done. I know we're running a little long. So Fairhaven Talent Show is on the agenda. So it was a thought I had during the original quarantine. It was one of the items on our daily challenge list, and I thought it would be cool if we rolled it out in a similar way. And whatever your talent is, it could be juggling for 30 seconds, or it could be singing a whole song for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and just have folks send in videos of them doing whatever their talent is. And then the idea would be to ultimately compose it in a video and put that video either on Instagram or on Facebook or YouTube link. And then we could have people vote on their favorite ones. And the winner would receive a prize, and also be pretty cool to say that they won the Fairhaven Talent Show. So, you know, we had some pretty cool entries from kids and a couple from adults as well. You know, kids rocking out the drums, guitar, doing some kind of sports shot, all these different kind of cool things. So I think that's something that we're looking into rolling out, and I don't know if there were any thoughts on that. So I'll leave the floor open.
DJ, I think it's a great idea. It gets families involved. And I know when we did it the last time, you had a great response. So I think this is a really good idea.
Yeah, if it's worked in the past and well received, keep going.
I agree. I don't know, this is maybe too much. I think it's working well. It's no need to fix what's not broken but to add, if we care to try, I have no idea how we would, but if Mrs. Blazer or somebody has access to this, if a senior feels like they have a talent that they'd like to share, but less ability to know how to turn a phone screen on the talent, if a neighbor could go over and film them from outside safely or something like that, I don't know. I'd be happy to try to coordinate. You know, if the seniors want to call me to find somebody to film a talent, I'd be happy to, or something like that.
Yes, maybe we could just put a little asterisk on the flyer. You know, if you have a senior with a talent who isn't, you know, tech enabled, you know, reach out to us, and I could put them in contact with you. And you might know someone in the neighborhood, or you could give them a phone call, and maybe it doesn't work out, but maybe, I don't know, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's good. Obviously, we want to try to include everybody possible, so we can give them that alternative.
Yeah, that's always one of the struggles with, you know, doing the virtual and doing things this way is some people inevitably either they don't have the tech or they're not trying to use it. So that's good input by you, Rachel. So, all right, I'll work something up there and see what we can roll out. And then yesterday we rolled out just a quick and easy snow day competition. So we've gotten something like 40 or 50 entries already. And it was really open and easy. It was show us what you're doing on the snow day, whether it's going sledding, making a snowman, making snow angels, you know, goofing around with your pets in the snow. So we've gotten some pretty cool entries on that, and we'll share those on Instagram and Facebook once the week is through. And that's just another thing where we kind of just saw an opportunity to roll something out, and if it gives families 15 minutes or an hour to do, and just kind of gives them a little bit more incentive to get out and enjoy the snow. So we've gotten, so I think I sent one to Mark earlier, a pretty funny snowman that I saw.
I didn't realize actually that's my neighbors right down the street.
Is that that's funny. I thought they lived in that neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was so good to see. And that's an awesome response. That's really great.
Yeah, we've
DJ.
gotten a bunch, and I'm sure we'll continue to get more throughout the week.
DJ, did you advertise it through the Rec's Facebook page?
Yeah, so it's on the town Facebook page. We put it on the Rec Instagram, and we blasted it out as well. So we got it out a few different ways.
All right, we'll keep it going. We'll see what our total talent is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's been some cool videos too. There was one, like 3 or 4 people hopped in one of those big toboggans and went down the hill. So it's cool to see. I know everyone's doing their own thing in Fairhaven on snow days, but it's cool to see how every family kind of does something a little bit different. So that was really nice.
You have to read to me.
So that's all that I had on the agenda. I don't know if there were any other items that folks want to touch on. I know we went a little long tonight, touched on a few different items.
I think it was worth it because we had a number of things to speak about, and especially obviously to follow up on with regard to our different priorities. Anything anybody else needs to add in?
No.
You want your dolls in here? No. No. She looks great. Love it.
All right. Well, we've got our next meeting is set for March 2nd. We're still all good, I believe. 6:30 seems to be working well for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So unless there's anything else, I move to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have.
See, I don't have the agenda, so I don't know when I can talk.
Yep,
Now's as good a time as any. Go ahead.
Whenever you want.
Well, if you're going to do the talent show, I would perhaps label it as a vaudeville talent show and somehow tie it into the history in Fairhaven. That's number one. The second thing is the Shade Tree Commission meeting is tomorrow night at 7:30, also on Zoom.
Okay.
That's great
And
info
I
to have.
know,
And,
DJ, you're going to try to reach out to them, whether it's can be done before the meeting or at least just start to touch base and see what their thoughts are with regard to the tree.
Yeah. So I've been in touch with the president of the Shade Tree Committee, Michael D'Angelo, and so he's aware of the potential tree that we are discussing. So I'm sure he'll mention at the meeting.
I don't see it on their agenda.
Well, I hope they bring it up. And I'll send another note over to Mr. D'Angelo and see if he can mention it. Maybe he might be waiting until we actually meet with the tree vendor on site. So I don't know if that's the case or not.
Yeah, just like us,
thanks
he
for
may
that
be looking
reminder.
for a little bit more information before he starts kind of, talking about it. All right. Thank you, Susan. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Fantastic. All righty, guys. So I think we're all set, and we'll see you all again March 2nd.
See you then.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
All right,
Bye.
thanks, guys.
Thank you, DJ.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
So long, Mark.
Thanks for taking the time, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
All
So
right.
all good. Couple of definitely follow-up items.
For sure. Yeah, I'll be interested to see the pricing on one of those bike parks.
Yeah. As I said, it's sort of something we've always had at Rolling Hills, and we just sort of re-upped it 2 years ago. We kind of redid it and added in some things. And like I say, the especially the younger kids, man, they totally eat it up.
What do they bring their bike for the day?
No, we have bikes. We have tricycles. We have small 2-wheelers. We have like big wheels. And, we supply all that, we have the helmets. I mean, we've got everything there. They come to camp and we got what they need. But, in our situation, then obviously they'd bring their own equipment, whatever. But again, they just have the fun kind of, going all around, playing with each other, pretending, they're doing all the different things.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
I actually got approached. There's the one lady that we're doing the mommy and me yoga, or not yoga. Yoga. Her company also does bicycle training, or like learn how to bike. So I'm talking to her about maybe running a camp in the spring or the summertime.
Haven't we done something like that in the past at the town? There's like sort of maybe
There's
it was
a bike
safety
rodeo.
clinic.
Yeah, there's a bike rodeo that I think the PTA partnered with the police department with. I think it was something like that. And it was a 1 day, like 1 hour thing.
Yeah,
but I think this is a multi-day, multi-hour thing that, it would be it would be just like going to any other basketball camp or soccer camp. But so I'm in discussions with them. I want to know some more details about it, and pick out a location. And the tennis courts, we don't want to encourage people riding their bikes on there. But I was thinking Sportsman's could work if the Board of Ed hops on board, using that front lot of Sportsman's there.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll continue to talk about it. I think the committee would be on board just based on the eruption of approval or interest in that. So we'll look more into that, and I'll see if I can get some pricing. But yeah, it's funny. Like, that's one thing where you reach out to them like, hey, like, just looking to see what this ballpark costs, and they come back with like a form of like 100 things to fill out because they think you want to buy it tomorrow.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, no, tell me,
I
is it like
just
20
need
or
some
is it like
idea of-
40?
Yeah.
So hopefully, and I'll see if I can find different locations that have those, different towns. And typically that's a good route to go because they can tell me what they actually paid for it.
Right.
In just phone conversation instead of having to deal with a salesperson who wants to get all of your information and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I'll reach out and see what we can do.
All right. Sounds good. I'm gonna go eat.
All right. We'll talk to you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
So long, DJ.